So hello everyone, today I will show you how you can create this type of slow motion effect in Unreal Engine 5. So in order to get this type of slow motion, you have to use a time dilation node. So you can see there I have my time dilation node. You have to just click on the track option and you will get a time dilation node. So how to create a slow motion? So if you want something to be slower, then you have to just reduce this 1 point to lesser than 1. Then it will create the slow motion. And if you want to make it faster, then you have to increase the value to 2 or 3. It depends on your animation, how you want it to be. And for my case, I just do this type of slow motion in this area and then like this, and you have to just do this type of keyframing. It's very simple. You have to just add keyframes, and like this you can able to do this type of slow motions. Okay, so this is the slow motion part that is very simple to do, but there is a problem with the rendering of this thing. So the time dilation is not supported the movie render queue properly. So if I show you, so if you don't know about the movie render queue, it's a rendering tool that give you the high quality renders from Unreal Engine. So I already made a tutorial on how to get a proper render or high quality render from Unreal Engine by this movie render queue, so you can watch that tutorial. But for now, if you notice one thing, that when you use normal rendering stuff like the anti-aliasing, you use something called 16 temporal sample and spatial sample 1. But if you render by using this setting, and if you try to render the time dilation with this settings, the normal setting that we everyone use, 1:16 or something like that, anything, okay, then it will create problem with the time dilation node, because this temporal sample count, or you can say this one also, the sub samples count is not supported by time dilation node. So in order to get a proper slow motion render, you have to make this thing 1, and then you have to use a temporal super resolution. By this method, you can only render your time dilation node, or else it will create a weird problem. If you use something 1:16, then what will happen if you render the slow motion, your slow motion, the part of your slow motion will be extended 16 times, okay, something like that, and you will notice that it is longer than the usual slow motion you do in your level sequencer. So that's the problem that I faced, and it is not right now supported by the subsamples, this samples count. So you have to make sure that you use one sample, and you have to use anti-aliasing method to temporal super resolution, and you can use the render warm-up frames and everything, all stuff. You have to just make sure that you use this one settings, or if you don't want to use anti-aliasing, you can also use DLSS plugin. I already made a tutorial on that also. You can watch that thing. But for now, if you don't want to use any kind of DLSS, you can use anti-aliasing also. So you have to just make sure that you have to be doing this type of stuff, okay. This is very important, or you can try with your own. If it is rendering properly with 1:16 samples, then you can render that thing. But in my case, it was not rendering properly, and I tried to search a lot of things in internet to find a solution for this one, but there is no solution. So yeah, you have to just render this thing with this temporal sample count 1, and then now you will say if it is if you use 1:16, and if it is slower 16 times in the main level sequencer, in the main render, then we can make our slow motion 16 times slower, and then we can render with 1:16 sample counts like that. You will think, okay, but it doesn't work. I tried that thing, but it doesn't work. I don't know why that thing happens. It just creates weird type of a shuffle between the frames. Like you will get something, the frame 1 will be go to the middle of the render, and this type of all useless things happens. I don't know why that thing happens. So the best thing you can render this thing is this one, 1:16, 1:1 sample count. And if you don't want to render this thing into 1:1 sample count, then there is other way. If you want to create some kind of slow motion, then you have to make sure that in the output section, you have to override the existing output, not this one, custom frame rate, and in the 24 fps you have to use 120 fps or 240 fps, okay. So if you want to do something like super slow motion, then you have to use 240 fps, or you can use 120 fps, okay. So now you will say it will just increase our render time, because if normally we say this animation took me something 111 frames, okay, and if I increase the fps to 200, then it gonna render 2000 something frames, okay. so it is too much. So you have to keep that thing in your mind, and it will increase your render time like so much. So it's your choice if you want to render the high quality stuff, and if you want to do the slow motion in other software, then you can render the same thing in more FPS and you can do the slow motion in other software. But if you don't want to do that, then you have to use time dilation node, and you have to just use that 1:1 sample count, and there is no other option to render the time dilation node. Okay. And the next problem that you will face is you will notice that your some frames will be forward towards the end and the last frame will be get in the middle or something like that. So you can see in this video my frames are just mismatching with each other at some portion. So the reason of that thing is time dilation node. Time dilation nodes create some kind of weird type of names in the image that you render. So in order to fix that problem, what you have to do, you have to just go to your output section, and in the output section you have to just go there, and at the end you have to make sure that first you have to press this button. It will reset your file name format, and then at the end you have to write -wheel. Okay, you have to write this and then you have to render. It will fix that problem. Okay, so that's the solution that I got, and yeah, I think it will be helpful for you. And if you know about something how to fix this time dilation node to render with normal sample counts 1:16, then please tell me. So yeah, that's it for this tutorial. Thank you for watching.